Welcome back to Cody in the Cinema. Today I have my top 10 Criterion movies to watch at Thanksgiving. And a lot of these deal with topics like just simply being thankful for what you have. And so, as a disclaimer, I'm not saying that you should accept suffering in your own life and be thankful for things and not allow yourself room for self-improvement or the world around you to improve. But with that being out of the way, and these being really subjective and a couple being probably, controversial picks. Let's start with the movie that, among all the movies I've seen, might have made me the most thankful solely purely for food. Criterion 4K Seven Samurai by Akira Kurosawa. Every time I watch this film, I'm reminded of how fortunate I am to actually just be able to eat in a world that's hostile. And this is the story of some villagers who are being raided by bandits over and over again, and they end up hiring these mercenary samurai. Of course, this was remade as The Magnificent Seven for you Western fans. And this has always made me feel just so glad that I have something to eat every time because of how, villagers are counting literal pieces of rice in this movie. And of course, just a masterpiece in and of itself from Akira Kurosawa. 1954, as a note to you that are considering buying this, I don't love the digipack aspect of this, but you might like it better than me. Now, what about a movie that has an awful lot of good food all the time and an awful lot of drinking and gorging and feasting? That also is a little bit cynical in its worldview and is a lot of fun to watch. How about a little dark comedy? Maybe you could call it dark comedy, called Daisies, a movie I frequently recommend on here. Described as an odyssey of gluttony, giddy destruction, and anti-patriarchal resistance. It's a lot of fun. These two girls know that they're in a movie, basically, and they just have a blast with each other, and they have a very good final food scene in there. This is just like, when I was putting this list together, and I was thinking, what is a movie with a lot of food in it that might be appropriate? Daisies certainly came to mind. Back to being thankful for what you have for a second. One of the all-time classics that reminds us how fortunate we can be, for example, to be employed. I happen to have a stable job. Times past, I haven't. And just having any kind of security at all is the 1948 Doseki film, Bicycle Thieves. I believe this is an excellent movie to teach us thankfulness if we do have those things. And so this man has to end up pawning back a bike, or getting a pawned bike back, bicycle, so that he can take this job that needs the bicycle. And there are some twists and turns that happen regarding this bicycle and employment, poverty, and all those things. And I believe that you will walk away from Bicycle Thieves feeling a little bit more thankful for what you do have, unless you're in a severe level of poverty. And then you may not. But that's something that I would recommend there. One director who always does a great job with nuance and examining the deeper roots of issues that couples have and families have is my favorite director, Yasujiro Ozu. And when I was thinking about what film I wanted to pick of his for this list, I thought the very best pick was food-related, obviously, and one that you don't hear a lot about, called The Flavor of Green Tea Over Rice, which has a gorgeous Criterion Collection piece of artwork there. And the basic conflict of this revolves around this little bit of tension. And the wife is a little bit more refined in her taste. I'm simplifying, but she's a little bit more refined. And the husband is a little bit more used to something less refined in his life, growing up in a smaller place. So it's the person who, in this case, wants green tea over rice, which she might kind of look down on as sort of a poverty food or something like that. And by the end of it, you come to understand why that green tea over rice is so important to the husband. And it becomes a wonderful movie about food and relationships and how we can form deep bonds of nostalgia around something as simple as green tea over rice and the delicate nature of relationships and marriages. Great film. Going back again to being thankful for literally anything, I liked the movie. I haven't seen this in a long time, so maybe if you want to leave a comment expanding on my ideas here, but Rossellini, I always felt did a great job of capturing that Italian world, and with his neorealism and other types of films, but really the Flowers of St. Francis with these religious folks who walk around and kind of take whatever they can get and are thankful for it as they go through their work. This is a film that I'd like to see if anyone here is a big fan of Rossellini, who wants to speak more to this, who knows a little bit more about it than I do. But I did appreciate that film along those lines. A film I'm a little bit more familiar with that I push on this channel often, or rather I should say a director I push often, is Chantal Akerman's Jeanne Diehlman. And I believe that this is like, of course, this is the Criterion box set that I've talked about a few times on my channel. But I believe that Chantal Akerman's Jeanne Diehlman has an exceptional, obviously like preparing food. Like, what could be more Thanksgiving appropriate than watching this, this single mom struggle, a little bit at times to keep the upkeep of her life with her son, and some of what she has to do sort of to overcome things when her own habits and sense of normalcy are thrown off. And if you watch the picture, you might understand why I picked this. Especially, like, it's an important film for people who have this sexist belief that women only belong in the kitchen. They need to see a movie like this, and it can kind of help them learn from that, although the film does require patience. So this is long, for a long while now, it's been one of my favorite directors, and I highly recommend that for a food-related movie that also, thankfulness maybe might fall along that road. What about a movie about family that's a little bit more of let me say like a tough guy movie? Because I haven't really had one of those in this list yet. Well, I love a good movie that has guilt and debauchery and meanness and shouting and congregating and lots of that stuff. So I thought, what would be a good selection from Scorsese that would really match this Thanksgiving theme? And I came up with Mean Streets. Harvey Keitel's little family he's attempted to put together in his own way. With Rob De Niro being not, Johnny Boy not being the easiest to work with. And then his girlfriend also becomes like his family. I think for me this works as a Thanksgiving film in that way. Also as a 4K transfer. A Raisin in the Sun is my number 3 pick. I think I love the play. I've read it many times. I've taught the play in school. If you remember that great performance from Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing, Mother Sister, that character. Her name's Ruby Dee, if you're unaware. She stars alongside Sidney Poitier in the story of a family that's kind of stuck in a close quarters in an apartment, and they're considering a new home, and then there's some conflict that is associated with that. If I talk too much about it, it really spoils the plot. But I think that's a good family dynamic movie. I think that the mother figure talks a little bit about some of the things I'm getting at, and again with the nuance and the character exchanges, I believe you will enjoy that if you haven't ever seen it. Good Thanksgiving movie, in my opinion. I also, for my number 2 pick, I wanted to put a movie on here that was an anti-Thanksgiving movie. So a movie that had thankfulness, coming together, congregating, family, feasting, food. What if you could take all of that and you could make it the exact evil version of that? Like, what if you could take those pieces of Thanksgiving and you could just soak those in the most evil imaginable? And the film I came up with for that as my ultimate anti-Thanksgiving movie, I'm going to be careful here because I can't show you the front side of the cover, is Salo, or the 120 Days of Sodom. And if you've seen this movie, you might know what I'm getting at by the feasting part, as far as how that's inverted and disturbing. And, one of the things about Thanksgiving is that it does tend to bring out good nature a lot of the time, although certainly people can argue and fuss at each other. And that's why I recommended Mean Streets, for example, as something you may want to watch. But this film is so cold and demonstrates what happens when fascism takes over communities and people and rips families apart. And it did feel to me like the ultimate anti-Thanksgiving movie in that way. And, if you want to get people to leave your Thanksgiving table, why don't you just talk about the rising fascism in the world, which this movie really covers well. Controversial choice for sure, but a movie that I think is very strong. Just maybe don't watch Salo after you eat Thanksgiving dinner. Not highly recommended. And finally, my number one pick, and this is the movie that, because I was thinking, okay, I'm going to do a Thanksgiving video. What movie did I instantly made me think of the holiday? And this is my clear number one choice. This is 1987 Babette's Feast. This is a movie about a woman who works as a cook, and we know she's going to throw some kind of a feast. And the movie works toward that culminating exercise at the end when she does cook. And all of the topics I've discussed, thankfulness, gathering, sort of this wholesomeness, all of that comes out so well in Babette's Feast. You will see lots of good food. It will make you hungry. It will make you want to cook. It will, and you know what else? It will make you want to cook not just for yourself, but for others. And it will make you feel an urge to do something nice for someone, even if it's just cook for them. So I think it embodies what I'm getting at with this whole video the best. That's my top 10 list. I did not mention a few classics in the collection that maybe I haven't seen that are food heavy. There are some I didn't throw out there. If you want to share those in the comments, feel free to do that. If you like the content, please do click that like button. Like buttons grow YouTube channels. And go ahead and click subscribe if you haven't. Love seeing new subscribers every day that happens. And we'll see you next time on Cody in the Cinema.